Folks, and welcome back. It's been raining a lot. We've had a couple of rounds of severe weather. It's been monotonous. I thought, let's break things up a little bit. We got a good-looking weekend heading our direction. Let's have a little bit of fun. All right, so you probably saw at 5 o'clock, Rex was talking about the record low of -1 degrees. That's set back in 1899 during a very cold period down across the Pine Belt. But that ain't nothing. And I'll prove it. All right, so a little research came out recently about back in 1784. This week in 1784, it was pretty cold. How cold was it? I wish Steve was here so we could joke about Johnny Carson together. But how cold was it? It was so cold, the Mississippi River froze in New Orleans. That's cold. Ice flows all the way down to New Orleans. In fact, they had little icebergs, little chunks of icebergs floating 100 miles south of the shore of the Gulf of Mexico. That is incredible. Very cold here across parts of the southeast. The reason? Iceland was the reason. There was actually an eruption up here, a large eruption that actually changed the global weather. Everybody saw a change from this because gases and some particulates ended up into the atmosphere. They got into the jet stream around the Arctic. That cooled the Arctic down. That allowed for a lot of snow to build up there, which is kind of a feedback loop. And so that cools it down even more, which means when you get these cold fronts to the north, like one that may try and sneak down here as we head through the end of next week, it was able to pull down a lot of that really cold air, and it would do that time and time and time again. And that just meant that you were freezing the Mississippi River further south and further south and further south, and eventually it froze the Mississippi River in New Orleans. Unbelievable. There is some research that suggests that this was a once-in-a-100-year thing, not the volcano, but where you get these big outbreaks of cold. And that was proposed given the fact that in 1899 we had a very similar cold outbreak, that -1 degree, a low temperature. And then we had another big cold outbreak across parts of the eastern and southeastern United States. You may remember this in 2009 and 2010. Now, that wasn't quite as cold, but there's a different reason for that. But nevertheless, that's crazy. Icebergs floating out in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, 40s and 50s out there right now. I know a lot of you folks that love winter around here. Even that, you may say, you know what, I don't think I need to go down to the coast in Biloxi and see ice floating around in the water.